Hey everybody, hope you're all doing well. This week we are getting into a conversation about the attention economy. So, thinking about how do we conceptualize this idea of an attention economy and what is its relationship to how we navigate media on a daily basis. We most clearly see this take shape in the form of influencer culture, but we'll get to that in a minute. First, we're going to think about how do we conceptualize what the attention economy is. And the short piece that I ask you all to look at by James Williams this week, he brings economist Herbert Simon into the conversation to note that it was Simon that coined the term, the attention economy way back when in the 70s. And he was noting that, when information becomes overabundant, which is clearly, the moment that we're living in, when information is free flowing, it's everywhere, access to it doesn't present as many issues, we see that attention becomes a scarce resource. So, for many years, the access to information has posed various issues, and we still see that at play, but we see that more so now with information being so free flowing, being so overabundant, attention has become a key challenge. And attention becomes a scarce resource in the sense that it's not necessarily a commodity that's going to, be used up, but the challenge in terms of it functioning as a scarce resource is managing control over it. So it's a scarce resource when we risk losing control over attention, and that's what Herbert Simon was arguing. So we clearly see, this capacity to risk losing control over our attention so clearly in terms of like doom scrolling and how that's taking shape today. So, people, will make these jokes about how so many folks are doom scrolling on a daily basis, just continuously moving through your feed, looking at, various content related to, social injustices, related to the election, related to COVID updates, related to various news items that have such a host of emotions packed into them, and they inspire such a variety of emotions and fears, anxieties, and whatnot. So we see how attention becomes something that is so difficult to manage when not only are we stuck on our phones and we're doing everything virtual right now, but we're also on top of that, just being immersed in, such a variety of, key ongoing issues that are happening. There's such, an influx of, various forms of like, social unrest, various, fears associated with COVID and whatnot. So, with all that said, we could think about when information becomes a scarce resource. Herbert Simon, uses this, metaphor of Tetris, and notes that in when we think about the game of Tetris, it's not the challenge is not that you're necessarily going to lose a brick, but you are potentially going to lose the ability to rotate, stack, and manipulate the bricks effectively. So we could see this as a metaphor for how our attention functions today. That that challenge becomes how do we manage and manipulate and move and maneuver our attention. So when we think about these contemporary dynamics of an attention economy, it is so clearly seen in influencer culture. And, obviously Herbert Simon and even James Williams, they're not necessarily thinking too heavily about influencer culture, but it's a key lens to further understand how they're conceptualizing this idea of the attention economy. And we see, through Williams and Simon, they're thinking about how when attention becomes a scarce resource, the impulse is to treat attention in an efficient way, to manage attention in an efficient way. And we see this very clearly in our social media spaces. And I'm going to be really curious to hear what folks think about how you see that kind of efficiency trying to take shape, or how do you see, different influencers essentially trying to manipulate our attention to keep us focused on them and keep us focused on particular pages or on particular accounts. And the first thing that I think of is how emotion, and, as media theorists like to call it, affect. So, how various forms of feeling and emotion are manipulated in order to harness people's attention. So, how do people pander to anxiety? How do people, use various forms of vulnerability or authenticity to bring people into the mix? So, we could see this even in, say like Instagram live sessions where an influencer will, seem to be offering their followers kind of, a behind the scenes look at their life. So they're offering that form of, authenticity or vulnerability. And that's a way to, bring people in to, maintain their attention. We also see this through the form of like infographics, how popular infographics are for, spreading various forms of education. So, reducing really complicated topics to just a very like bare bones plain infographic as a way to treat people's attention very efficiently. So, all of these are examples of, how we would see attention, being manipulated, how people are trying to, maintain followers' attention. And, it also raises questions about how we, on an individual level, so we as social beings, in in terms of interacting with these mediated spaces, what kind of decisions are we making to regulate the intake of information that we receive? So what kind of, decision making are we engaging in order to, manage our attentional processes? So I look forward to talking with you all about this week on the Discord board.